Hello everyone, welcome back to CogniSolver. First of all, let me wish you all a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year in advance. So you can already see that what we are gonna discuss in this particular video. It's gonna be a very fun project where we have a blank or maybe undecorated Christmas tree, and you will have a certain ornaments, some stars, some images which can use to decorate your Christmas tree. Okay, so basically you can just drag and drop the things on your Christmas tree, and you can just do little experiment and try to decorate it. You can challenge your friends and see how or how decorative someone can make the Christmas tree, and yeah, you can have this a little challenge between your friends. So yeah, that's very it's a very cool project which we gonna see. So as far as HTML and CSS is concerned, I think you will be able to understand it. The very important, the gigantic part is the JavaScript behind this project, and that is what we need to learn. HTML and CSS is very simple things. We're not gonna put a lot of time in that. Rather, we'll simply jump to JavaScript. Okay, so without doing further ado, let me just open my VS Code. Yeah, you see, the HTML code is very simple. I'll just run through the body once. This is the h1 tag which we can see here, right? Decorate the Christmas tree. Then we have this tree div, right? Inside this we have the tree image, right? I can show you the images folders once. So all these images we have here, right? Tree and all the ornaments. Fine. Yeah, and then we have this ornaments container, which you can see at the bottom. See, these are this is the ornament container. Inside this we have a lot of ornaments or images, right? You can add as many as you want. I added 10. Then we have a reset button at the bottom right corner. This reset button, upon clicking which it will reset the tree, of course, so that you can try again. Or suppose you added a ornament, you don't want this ornament here anymore, you want to add some extra ornament or some other ornament, you want to get rid of this ornament, just drag it outside this box and it will be deleted from the tree, right? We'll see how these all things are happening. So yeah, this is basically the simple HTML that we understood. CSS is also quite simple. You can, now I'll upload this code, source code, you can go through and you can understand what all these things are happening. It's very simple CSS, nothing much. The main thing is the JavaScript part, which we will understand. Okay, again guys, I'm not doing any coding in this video or in this lecture, because there is nothing to code actually. I'll just make you understand what each line means, and yeah, you can try it with your own, right? Fine. So at the top of this JavaScript file, we have three fields, or maybe three variables, or three elements which we selected already, that is called ornaments, tree, and reset button. Okay, so ornaments, we're selecting query selector with the query selector all, with the class as ornament. So for now, okay, so for ornament, you see all the ornaments have a class called ornament. So we are selecting all the ornament which have the class as ornament, that we are naming as ornaments. And tree, with a query selector hash tree, that is tree will have a ID of tree, right? We have ID tree here, correct? And last we have reset button, which has the ID as reset button. If you see here, it has ID reset button, and we have selected with the get element by ID. But this tree you have selected with query selector. You can do anything. If you can do get element by ID here also, doesn't matter. If you're doing get element by ID, then you have to just paste the ID. If you're doing the query selector, then you have to pass the hash for the IDs, okay, and class and dot for the classes. I hope you guys already know it, right? Yeah, so next we have this particular code block which does what, takes all the ornaments and add the drag start and drag end events to them. So all the ornaments which are here already, it adds drag start and drag end, so that we can start dragging this ornaments. We have the functionality there. So what these methods do, I'll just squeeze this frame. Fine. Okay, so what this method does, so basically drag start will go to directly drag start, does nothing basically, we all know that this is going to be kind of an arrow function, or whatever the function is here, the input will be the event which is been triggered, right? So we'll take that event in a drag start. You can see it takes an event E and it does the data transfer, right? What it does, data basically we are setting the data. So if you go to index.html, here we have this draggable to and all. Here we have data attributes as well, right? We can see data and hyphen, and we can make our own variables and can put data in that variable, right? So that's what we are doing dynamically in the JavaScript, correct? So we are setting the data, we are naming it image, and then we are setting the source, that is the source of the image in this image tag. So whatever the images you can see, they have this source, right? If you go in index.html, you can see we have src attribute here. So what this line does, basically line number 19, if I tell you like in the code, it just does this: data hyphen image equals to whatever the source value here for this one, just takes and adds it here. So this particular line is added for all the corresponding ornaments with their corresponding src values, right? So we are doing it dynamically with the help of JavaScript, not doing it manually in the, or we are not hard coding it in the HTML itself. Fine. So you understand what it does. Similarly, this particular line set the data ID. It takes the ID of the images which we have selected, or on which the event has been triggered. It takes its data set, and if there is any ID in that, it takes that ID and set it into this, or if there is no ID, it just sets the blank ID, right, in the ID data hyphen ID tag. Okay, right? And last we are adding the class called dragging. Now what is this class called dragging? If we just take it in this style.css, you see it just reduce the opacity and change the cursor to grabbing. So see, this is the cursor when I'm hovering over these images. So this is the cursor of grab, and when it is grabbing, so if I'm grabbing it by double clicking and moving my mouse pointer, so you see the opacity got reduced, right? 0.5, that is 50% of opacity got reduced. And if you see the icon or the cursor, it is now changed from drag to dragging, right? You see the little box there. So yeah, that's what this is basically doing, this dragging class, right? Fine. Okay, so that goes handle drag start, and then second method is handle drag end, which will be triggered on the drag end event firing. We'll go to drag end. Here also it takes the event, and what it does, so when the drag ends, when it need to know that when we are dragging the object, so where to put it, like we can put it outside the box or inside the box or on the tree, where we are putting it. So I mean our main goal is to put the objects on the tree, right? That is why we created this box. So we can only drag our drag and drop our objects inside this box. Obviously we can drag outside the box, but we cannot drop there, right? You can see if we are outside the box, it is, the cursor is disabled, right? So it shows that you cannot drop it here. If I release my mouse, it won't be dropped there. But if I take it here and drop in this box, it is dropped, right? So for this one, how it is understanding that okay, we have to allow the drop in this box only. So that's how it is. So for understanding this, this line is helping us. What it is doing actually, if you see, we have selected a tree, that is the tree div we had, right? Inside this the image is there, correct? Okay, so we are doing what we are doing, something get bounding client rect. Now I would simplify this for you guys. So it's basically getting the boundaries of this particular div. If I go to HTML index.html, you see this div tree, right? So whatever the boundaries are there for this tree div, right? It's getting that basically. So we have the position of this tree box on the screen, correct? And we need that to understand, okay, this is our drop zone, correct? So we are taking that as an variable of rect, and we are calculating something called is outside tree, that wherever the cursor, so when I'm moving the cursor, is my cursor is outside the tree or inside the tree, that's how I'm calculating here, right? So for what we are doing, so wherever we are moving, so our image, our elements which I have grabbed now, we have its x and y coordinates, right? So its x coordinate cannot be greater than the outer left boundary of the tree image, right, or tree div, and it should not be lesser than the right boundary. Similarly for top and bottom, right? So yeah, that's what we are doing, correct? So if you see here, so we are checking if x is less than the rect of left and x is greater than the right of rect. Similarly for top and bottom also we are checking. So based on that, we'll get to know that this is outside the tree or inside the tree. If it is outside the tree and this particular element has a ID in its data set, that means we cannot drop it here, right? We have to move it outside. So what we are doing, we are just doing e.target remove, that whatever the event is there, whatever element has been selected, now just remove it. We don't need that element because it is not inside a drop zone, right? It is outside the tree. That is because it's outside, the value is true. So we are basically removing the ornament if it is outside a tree. So basically if I'm dragging it here and keeping it outside, it's getting removed, right? And if I'm keeping it inside, then it will be there. Perfect, right? So this is what this particular condition is doing, and after all that, we are just removing the dragging class out of that element, because once it is dropped or we have released the mouse pointer, then it should not be having the dragging class, right? Its opacity should be full now. Perfect. So yeah, that's what is happening here. Fine. Now we'll do what we are creating an element called div. Okay, so we already have an element called div which has id tree, which is this box, correct? Now we are creating one more element called div, and we are adding a class list to drop zone. Now what is this class list drop zone means? In the style.css, if you go, so we are giving a height and width of 300 and 400 pixels. From top or left we are giving 0 and position absolute, right? So basically we are trying to in a way we are trying to mask this tree. So what I'm trying to say, if I give a background color here, right, if I just give a white background color, you'll understand. See, so this is our drop zone, right? So inside this box, white box only, we can drag and drop value. So if I take an element, if I leaving it here, it will be dropped, but if I'm putting it outside, it won't be, correct? So I hope you understand what is a drop zone, right? So we are selecting a drop zone here. What we are doing, we are creating a div, adding a drop zone class, and according to that drop zone class, the position has been given to that drop zone area, right? And then we are adding this drop zone into the tree, correct? Fine. Now we are doing two things. We are adding two events to this drop zone. One is drag over and one is drop. So when drag over is what? So there are four events basically. If you see, drag start, drag over, drop, and drag end. So these are the life cycle: drag start, drag over, drop, and drag end. Fine. So for drag over means when we are dragging it, right? This is drag over, when we're dragging it over. Okay, so let's see what method has been called on the drag over. So if we open drag handle drag over, it's doing nothing, simply just preventing the default value of this event, right? Doing nothing. So when we are dragging, it just does nothing, right? It just it doesn't do anything, it just lets you drag, correct? Fine. The important part is this handle drop, right? This is the important part, and this is the biggest method. So yeah, here a lot of things are happening, because the moment you release your pointer or release your cursor, right, so that's when the things happen. If I'm just putting it there and leaving it, so it should stay there and it should not get replicated. And if I'm trying to move it again from here to somewhere here, it should remove, right? It should move. Then I'm adding one more same ornament, and if I'm moving this one, so this first one should be intact, right? So every ornament should be unique in its nature. So a lot of things are happening when we are dropping the element, right? Yeah, so we'll learn that one, how it is happening. So first of all, we are just preventing the default behavior so that we can apply our own. And we are taking two things, right? From this, whatever element has been selected or being dragged, we are taking two things. One is image, one is ID. Now if you remember, while when drag start, so we were setting this image and ID values, right? That's what we are fetching it here. Okay, and we are for image value we are keeping it in the variable called ornament src, and ID we are keeping it in ornament ID. Now this particular block help us to reposition the existing ornament. So whatever the existing ornament are in the drop zone, we can reposition them, right? And they won't affect the other elements positions, right? So this is what happening in this particular block. So here what we are saying, if ornament ID is there, means ornament ID is there, that means this particular element has been dragged already, that is, it is existing element in the drop zone, right? So that's what this if condition checks. If ornament ID is there, then we are selecting the element with a query selector which has the data hyphen ID as ornament ID. Now if you remember, I told you in the beginning that when we are adding a data set, that means we are adding an attribute here called data hyphen the attribute, right? So for ID we are adding the ID, and for image we are adding the image, right? So for ID we are having ID, so data hyphen ID. So based on this query we are selecting the particular ornament, that is the existing ornament, if the ornament ID is there, correct? And if we are finding the existing ornament, means it is not null, means it is there, then what we are doing, we are again getting the boundary of the tree, and we are calculating the new coordinates for these values. So we are replacing it, right? We are moving it around. We can drop it anywhere in this box in a drop zone. So we are calculating the x and y values, and based on these x and y values we are setting the style of that ornament. Basically we are positioning them, right? And then exiting the method, correct? So this is what happening in the repositioning. Now if we are trying to drag a new element in the drop zone, that's another story, right? That's what we are doing here. So we are doing what? We are document.get, we are creating a new element called img, that is image element we are creating, and in this image element we'll set some values, right? So it's the image element, so we'll have to set the src values, right? So we'll have to set the src value, that is a source value of this image. Now source image, right? So you will be wondering where this ornament src is coming. So at the top only we got these values, right? Ornament src and ornament id, and then from the data set of the particular element, correct? So we got the ornament src, we have set the src value to that is the new ornament src which we just created, okay? And we are adding a class name called ornament, and we are making the draggable value true, fine. So when we are dragging a new value here in the drop zone, it should also be draggable, right? Not only these values, correct? So that's what we are doing. Okay, after that we are creating a new unique ID for that for the values. So if you see, we are getting the ID. So each value which is inside this drop zone should have a unique value, right? So that then only if I am moving one item, it is not hampering the other items positions, correct? I hope you are understanding, guys. Fine. So yeah, we are creating the new ID based on the date.now function. It will give us milliseconds, which will be unique in each millisecond, right? So in 1 second we have 1000 milliseconds, so each millisecond will be unique value. So we are just making sure that the IDs are unique, right? And after creating that ID, we are setting it into a dataset ID. Fine. Now we are applying these styles to the new ornament. Basically we are positioning this absolute. Height and width we are giving according to us, right? You can change it on your requirement, and then cursor we are giving it grab, right? So that when we are hover over it, it will be a grab cursor, that little hand will come over there, fine. Now after creating this element, we again have to attach two events, that is drag start and drag end event, right? The way we have added for these values, for these ornaments in the bottom, right? So we are doing that. So simple one. After that, we are positioning the x and y values to them. Basically what we did in this if condition here, if you see, we get the rect, we get the xy values, and we reposition the element, right? So that's what we are doing here also. We get the boundary value, that is rect, and then calculating new xy position, and then setting the xy positions to this element that is been newly created, and then appending this new element into the tree so that it stays there. We can see it on the tree, right? Yeah, so that's what the handle drops. So when I'm just dropping something new inside this, it's get dropped, and if I'm just dragging and dropping something from inside this drop zone also, just get drops, right? Cool, correct? And if I don't want something, I just drag it outside and it will be removed, right? Which is happening with which function, if you guys can remember, from this handle drag end, right? If it is outside, we're just removing it. Fine. The last function is left. It's a very quite simple one. Is this reset button add event listen. So on this reset button, we are listening an event called click event, and on listening this click event, we are selecting all the elements which has the class ornament on the tree, not on the page, right? On the page, this also have these images also have a class called ornament, right? But we are only selecting the ornaments which are on the tree. That's why we are appending the ornaments on the tree here, right? So these ornaments, if you want to reset the tree, we have to delete this, right? So what we're saying, we are selecting all the ornaments on the tree and then iterating over each ornaments and then removing it, correct? So if I just click reset tree, we'll just remove all the ornaments. So your tree is now as new tree. You can add more values there, or more ornaments there, right? And it's not like only reset, but reset tree will only work if you don't want these ornaments. Just drag it outside the drop zone. Yeah, it will be as good as reset tree, right? Fine. Yeah, so this is the project, guys. I think it is very cool project to start with. If you want to showcase something to your friends, brag about, yeah, little good project, right? Yeah, so I'll host this web page. You can go and try. You can send your friends. You can create your own. Have some fun, guys. Change some colors or maybe add some extra feature if you want. To showcase your extra skills. You can add some extra features which you think will be useful here in this particular project, and you can add them, and you can write us in the comment showing us your project, pasting the link, or in our socials also you can contact us. Okay, so yeah, on that note, I'll end this video. Yeah, so that's been a great journey this year with you guys. I'm so thankful for your support, and yeah, everything, like literally this year has been a very great year for me. You guys being the very good audience. Yeah, we are small family, but yeah, we are growing day by day, and that's what important. We are growing, we are not stopping. So yeah, that's what. Yeah, so yeah, let's meet you in the next video. Till then, keep coding and keep learning, and happy new year, guys. Enjoy.